Nathan Rivers jolted awake at 4:23 in the morning, his heart racing like a frightened animal. The sheets of his king-sized bed were tangled around his legs, damp with perspiration, despite the cool San Francisco air drifting through his bedroom window. He pressed his palms against his eyes, trying to erase the image that had haunted him for 6 consecutive nights. The woman in his dream was always the same. She stood in an empty conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a city Nathan could not identify. Her dark hair fell in gentle waves past her shoulders, and she wore a simple gray blazer over a white blouse. But what haunted Nathan most were her tears. They streamed down her face silently as she clutched a black leather portfolio against her chest. Her lips moved as if she were speaking, but no sound reached him. Nathan swung his legs out of bed and walked barefoot to the kitchen of his modern loft in the financial district. At 34, he had built Tech Vision Solutions from a garage startup into a company valued at over $200 million. His success story had been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur magazine, and countless tech blogs. Yet none of his achievements could explain why a stranger invaded his sleep every single night. Morning reality. He made himself a strong cup of coffee and opened his laptop. The blue light illuminated his face as he scrolled through urgent emails. His company was facing its biggest challenge yet. Horizon Industries, a massive conglomerate, had been quietly buying up shares of Tech Vision, and rumors of a hostile takeover were spreading through the tech community like wildfire. Nathan needed to secure his company's future, and that meant expanding his executive team with people he could trust completely. Today, he would interview the final 3 candidates for Chief Operations Officer, a position critical to his company's survival. His phone buzzed with a text from his assistant, Rebecca Torres. She had worked with Nathan since the beginning, when Tech Vision operated out of a cramped office above a coffee shop. The text read, "First candidate arrives at 9. Conference room B is ready. The finalist, Olivia Chen, has the most impressive background. Former VP at Sterling Technologies. I think you'll want to meet her." Nathan replied with a thumbs-up emoji, though his mind was elsewhere. He could not shake the feeling that something significant was about to happen. The dream felt different last night. The woman had looked directly at him for the first time, her brown eyes filled with an emotion he could not name. The first interviews. By 8:30, Nathan was dressed in his usual work uniform, dark jeans, a button-down shirt, and a blazer. He had abandoned formal business attire years ago, preferring the casual style that dominated Silicon Valley culture. His office on the 15th floor offered a panoramic view of the bay, but today he barely noticed it. The first candidate, Thomas Bradley, a 50-year-old veteran from a traditional manufacturing company, had solid credentials, but spoke about business strategies that felt outdated in the fast-moving tech world. Nathan thanked him politely and moved on. The second candidate, Jennifer Walsh, impressed him more. She had sharp insights about scaling operations and had successfully managed teams of over 300 people. But something was missing. Nathan could not pinpoint what exactly, just a gut feeling that she was not the right fit. Rebecca knocked on his door at 1:15. "Olivia Chen is here. She arrived 10 minutes early." Nathan nodded and took a deep breath. "Give me 5 minutes, then send her in." He used those 5 minutes to review her resume one more time. Olivia Chen, 32 years old, bachelor's degree from Stanford, MBA from Harvard Business School. She had climbed rapidly through the ranks at Sterling Technologies before the company went through massive layoffs 6 months ago. Since then, she had been searching for the right opportunity. On paper, she was perfect. Nathan told himself to focus on her qualifications and forget about the strange dreams that had been plaguing him for weeks. The moment everything changed. When Rebecca opened the door and Olivia Chen walked into his office, Nathan felt the room tilt. She was the woman from his dreams. Every detail matched perfectly. The dark hair that fell in waves past her shoulders, the gray blazer over a white blouse, and like a caption on the screen of his dream. And in her hands she held a black leather portfolio pressed against her chest, exactly as she had in his nightmare.
Nathan stood frozen, his hand halfway extended for a handshake. Time seemed to stretch impossibly. He could hear his own heartbeat thundering in his ears. "Mr. Rivers?" Olivia's voice broke through his shock. It was soft and professional, with a hint of concern. "Are you all right?" Nathan forced himself to move, to take her hand, to gesture toward the chair across from his desk. "Yes, sorry. Please, sit down, and call me Nathan." As Olivia settled into the chair, Nathan's mind raced through impossible explanations. Had he seen her photograph somewhere? Had their paths crossed at some tech conference he had forgotten? But he knew deep in his bones that neither explanation was true. He had never seen this woman before today, yet he had watched her cry in his dreams for 6 straight nights. "Thank you for meeting with me," Olivia began, opening her portfolio. "I know TechVision is going through a challenging period right now, and I believe my experience could help you navigate it successfully." Nathan tried to focus on her words, but his eyes kept drifting to her face, searching for some sign that she felt this strange connection too. She seemed composed and professional, giving no indication that anything unusual was happening. This was going to be the strangest interview of his life.
Nathan forced himself to breathe normally as Olivia began discussing her background. Her voice was steady and confident, yet he detected an underlying vulnerability that resonated with something deep inside him. He watched her hands gesture as she spoke about operational efficiency and team management, and he noticed the slight tremor in her fingers when she mentioned her time at Sterling Technologies. "The layoffs were unexpected," Olivia said, her voice dropping slightly. "One morning we were celebrating record profits, and by afternoon security was escorting half the executive team out of the building. I had given that company 7 years of my life." For a brief moment her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and Nathan felt his chest tighten. It was the same expression he had seen in his dreams, the same pain that had woken him night after night. "That must have been incredibly difficult," Nathan said, leaning forward. "How did you handle it?" Olivia looked down at her portfolio, then back up at him. "Honestly, the first month I barely left my apartment. I questioned everything about myself, my abilities, my judgment, but then I realized something important. Sometimes things fall apart so better things can come together. I started looking at this as an opportunity rather than a failure." Nathan found himself nodding. "I understand that feeling more than you might think. When I started TechVision, I had just walked away from a 6-figure job at a major corporation. Everyone told me I was making a huge mistake. For the first year, I survived on instant noodles and doubt." A genuine smile crossed Olivia's face, transforming her features. "And now look at what you've built. TechVision is revolutionizing how companies approach cloud-based solutions. I've been following your work for years, actually." The déjà vu moments. As the interview progressed, Nathan experienced several moments that made his skin prickle with recognition. When Olivia tucked a strand of hair behind her left ear, he knew she was about to say something important. When she tilted her head slightly while considering a question, he could almost predict her response. It was as if he had known her mannerisms for years rather than minutes. "I have a question that might seem unusual," Nathan said, deciding to test the waters. "Do you believe in intuition when it comes to business decisions?" Olivia's eyes lit up. "Absolutely. Data and analytics are crucial, but sometimes you need to trust your gut feeling about people and opportunities. Some of my best decisions at Sterling came from following instincts that the spreadsheets couldn't justify." Have you ever had a feeling about something before it happened, like a certainty about the future? She paused, studying his face with an intensity that made him wonder if she felt it too. "Sometimes I have dreams that feel more real than actual memories. They show me places I've never been or people I've never met, but when I encounter them in real life, there's this sense of recognition. Does that sound strange?" Nathan's pulse quickened. "Not strange at all. Actually, it sounds familiar." Rebecca knocked and entered with 2 bottles of water, breaking the charged atmosphere. "Sorry to interrupt. Nathan, you have the board call in 30 minutes. "Thank you, Rebecca." Nathan checked his watch, surprised to discover they had been talking for over an hour. What felt like 15 minutes had stretched far longer.
After Rebecca left, Olivia shifted in her chair. "I should let you get to your next meeting. I know you have other candidates to consider." "Actually, I've made my decision," Nathan said, the words leaving his mouth before his logical brain could intervene. "I'd like to offer you the position of Chief Operations Officer at Tech Vision Solutions." The confession. Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. "Right now? Don't you need to discuss it with your board or check my references?" "Your references are impeccable. I had them verified before you walked in. And as for the board, they trust my judgment on executive hires. That's why they made me CEO." Nathan stood and walked to the window, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. "But I need to tell you something, and it's going to sound completely insane." He turned to face her. Olivia had stood as well, her portfolio clutched against her chest in that familiar pose that sent chills down his spine. "For the past 6 nights, I've had the same dream. There's a woman standing in an empty conference room. She's crying, holding a black portfolio, wearing a gray blazer and a white blouse. I've never seen her face clearly, but I know she's sad and scared and desperately hoping for something to change." Olivia's face had gone pale. Her grip on the portfolio tightened. "This morning, when you walked into my office," Nathan continued, his voice soft, "I realized you are that woman. Everything matches. The way you stand, the way you hold that portfolio, even the exact clothes. I know it sounds impossible, but I've been dreaming about you before we ever met." The silence that followed felt endless. Nathan prepared himself for her to think he was crazy, to walk out, to report him for unprofessional behavior. Instead, Olivia slowly walked to the window and stood beside him. "What conference room?" she asked quietly. "I don't know. Big windows overlooking a city, white walls, a long glass table." Olivia pointed down toward the building across the street. "Is that the view you see in the dream?" Nathan looked and felt his breath catch. It was exactly the same skyline. "Yes, how did you know?" She turned to face him fully, and now he could see tears forming in her eyes, just like in his dreams. "Because I've been having dreams too, Nathan. For the past 6 nights, I dream about walking into an office building. I'm terrified because I need this interview to go well. My savings are running out and I'm about to lose my apartment. In the dream, I meet a man who somehow understands me without words, a man with kind eyes who sees past my fear and gives me hope." Nathan felt something shift in the universe, like puzzle pieces clicking into place. This is impossible. Is it? Or maybe it's just improbable. Maybe sometimes the universe pushes people together because they're meant to meet. Maybe dreams are preparation for important moments in our lives. "You're not freaking out about any of this?" Nathan asked. A small laugh escaped her. "Oh, I'm absolutely freaking out internally, but I'm also feeling something else. Relief, maybe? Like I've been waiting for this moment without knowing what I was waiting for." Nathan moved closer to her. "I hired you because you're the most qualified candidate. Your experience, your vision for operations, your understanding of scaling challenges. But I'm not going to lie and say the dreams had nothing to do with it. They did. They made me feel like this was meant to happen." "What do we do now?" Olivia asked. "Well, first, you start work on Monday. We'll handle all the paperwork and logistics. You'll meet the executive team and start learning our systems. Then, after that, maybe we figure out what this connection means. Not as boss and employee, but as 2 people who somehow found each other across the barrier of sleep." Olivia extended her hand. "Deal, but let's take it slow. I need this job and I don't want anything to complicate that." Nathan shook her hand and once again felt that spark of recognition. "Agreed. Professional first, mysterious cosmic connection second." As Olivia gathered her things to leave, she paused at the door. "Nathan, in my dreams, the man I meet ends up becoming the most important person in my life. Just thought you should know." She left before he could respond, leaving him alone in his office with his heart racing and his mind spinning with possibilities he never believed in before. The dreams had brought her to him. Now he had to discover why.
Monday morning arrived with a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy that Nathan had not felt in years. He arrived at the office an hour early, something he had not done since the company's founding days. Rebecca noticed immediately when she arrived with her usual coffee and bagel. "You're here before me," she observed, raising an eyebrow. "That hasn't happened in 3 years. Should I be worried?" Nathan looked up from his laptop. "Just wanted to make sure everything was ready for Olivia's first day. Did you set up her office? Make sure IT has her systems prepared?" Rebecca sat down across from him with a knowing smile. "Everything is perfect. Her office is ready, her computer is set up, and I've scheduled meetings with each department head throughout the week. But Nathan, can I ask you something?" "Of course. What really happened during that interview?" Rebecca's expression was serious now. "I've worked with you for 8 years. I know when something has shifted. You came out of that meeting looking like you'd seen a ghost." Nathan considered how much to share. Rebecca had earned his trust many times over, but how could he explain something he barely understood himself? Let's just say that sometimes the right person shows up at exactly the right moment. Have you ever felt that, Rebecca? Like the universe arranged something specifically for you? "Once," she said softly, "the day I walked into your tiny office above that coffee shop and asked for a job. You had no reason to hire me. I had no tech experience, just a business degree and determination. But you looked at me and said yes within 5 minutes." Nathan smiled at the memory. "I knew you were supposed to be here, just like I know Olivia is supposed to be here now." Building something real. Olivia arrived at 8:30 sharp, dressed in navy blue this time, her dark hair pulled back in a professional style. Nathan watched from his office as Rebecca greeted her warmly and began the orientation tour. He forced himself to focus on other work, to give Olivia space to settle in without hovering. But throughout the day, he found his attention drifting to where she was in the building. When she met with the engineering team in the afternoon, he could hear her confident voice through the walls, asking intelligent questions and offering valuable insights. When she passed by his office on her way to meet with the finance department, their eyes met for a brief second, and he felt that same electric recognition. The dreams continued, but they changed. Now, instead of seeing Olivia crying in an empty room, Nathan dreamed of conversations they had not yet had. He saw them walking through Golden Gate Park on a Sunday afternoon, talking about everything and nothing. He saw them working late in the office, sharing takeout food, and laughing about something on a computer screen. He saw moments of intimacy that left him waking up with a longing that felt both foreign and completely natural. 3 weeks into her tenure at TechVision, Olivia had already transformed the operations department. She implemented new efficiency protocols, resolved a long-standing conflict between the sales and development teams, and presented a restructuring plan that impressed even the most skeptical board members. She was exactly what the company needed. But Nathan found himself caring less about her professional contributions and more about the way she bit her lower lip when concentrating on a problem. He noticed how she always brought extra coffee for the security guard on the ground floor. He observed her staying late to help a junior analyst finish a difficult report, even though it was not part of her responsibilities. The rooftop conversation. On a Friday evening, as the sun set over San Francisco Bay, Nathan found Olivia on the building's rooftop terrace. She stood at the railing, looking out at the orange and pink sky, her blazer discarded on a nearby bench. "Mind if I join you?" Nathan asked. She turned and smiled. "It's your building. You can go anywhere you want." "Technically, it's the investor's building. I just work here." He moved to stand beside her. "How was your first 3 weeks?" "Intense, challenging, exactly what I needed." Olivia glanced at him. "Thank you for taking a chance on me, Nathan. I know my situation wasn't ideal, being unemployed for 6 months. You earned this position. Your work speaks for itself." He paused, then added, "But can I ask you something personal?" "Go ahead. Are you still having the dreams?" Olivia's expression softened. "Every night, but they've changed. Now I dream about things that haven't happened yet. Conversations we'll have, moments we'll share. It's like I'm seeing previews of a future that feels inevitable." Nathan felt relief wash over him. "Me too. I thought I was losing my mind. Or maybe we're both experiencing something that doesn't fit into normal explanations." Olivia turned to him fully. "I've been thinking a lot about this, Nathan, about what it means and why it's happening. I have a theory if you want to hear it." "Please." She took a deep breath.
What if the dreams weren't predictions? What if they were invitations, the universe showing us a possibility, a path we could take if we were brave enough? The woman crying in the conference room was me at my lowest point, desperately hoping for salvation. The man in my dreams who gave me hope was you, offering me not just a job, but a chance to rebuild my life. Nathan considered this. So the dreams were showing us what we needed. More than that, they were showing us what we could become together. But here's the thing about invitations. You have to accept them. You have to choose